Chapter 10. Motivating People in Tough Times. Norman Vincent Peale once said, "Believe in yourself. Have faith in your abilities. Without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy." These are challenging times for managers. Business is down, selling is more complex, and customers are more demanding. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Your personal goal as a leader is to be successful, to get the very best results possible, and to move to the top of your field. The key need is for you to help your team and the people under you to perform at a high level. The individual performance of each person is essential to the productivity of your firm. Your job is to help each person do the very best that he can in his job. The manager is the most important person in the business organization. The manager is the key person who determines the success or failure of the organization. The role of the manager, especially in difficult times, is to be positive, encouraging, and cheerful. The biggest breakthrough in motivation theory was the discovery of the X factor in 1928. This is the psychological factor that more determines productivity and performance than any other factor. This is defined as how a person feels about herself, the company, the boss, and her co-workers. The key to motivation is the self-concept, the bundle of beliefs that each person has about themselves. The self-concept is made up of three parts. First, the self-ideal. This is made up of the goals, dreams, hopes, and aspirations of the individual. Second is the self-image. This is the way the employee sees and thinks about himself. This self-image is shaped by three factors. First, the way the person sees himself, his inner mirror. Second, the way the person thinks he is seen by or viewed by others. And third, the way the person actually performs in reality. Each part of the self-image reinforces each other part. The manager can therefore have a major impact on the self-image of the employee or anyone over whom he has any influence. The third part of the self-concept is the self-esteem. This is the emotional part of the personality and is defined as how much you like yourself. Now, the interactive model of motivation says that the quality of the relationship between the employee and the manager is the control valve on performance. Here are three discoveries. The manager is the primary reason for taking the job. Second, the manager is the primary reason for staying at the job. And third, the manager is the primary reason for leaving the job. Every interaction you have with an employee is a moment of truth and has an effect on his feelings of confidence, security, and self-esteem. Be sure that everything you do and say with your staff is positive and encouraging. One of the definitions of a leader is to be a cheerleader. There are two performance problems that you may have to deal with. One, lack of motivation. The person will not do the job. Two, lack of competence. The person cannot do the job. The way you determine which one it is by asking, could this person do the job well if their life depended upon it? If the employee could do a good job if their life depended upon it, he is simply not motivated. If he could not do a good job, even if his life depended upon it, he's simply not competent. Now, there are four company-created problems that lead to lower levels of motivation and performance. Number one is lack of direction. This is lack of clear goals, standards, and measures. Number two problem is lack of feedback. The employee does not receive regular feedback from his or her manager. Number three is lack of recognition. The person works hard but is not recognized and appreciated, especially for excellent performance. And number four is lack of rewards. This leads to a feeling of being undervalued, especially by top people who do a great job. The friendship factor is the key to high performance at work. It consists of three factors that we've talked about before. I call these the three C's. The first is consideration, treating the person as an individual rather than just as an employee. Second is courtesy, being polite and respectful of the employee and saying please and thank you when you talk to them. And number three is caring, expressing sensitivity to the problems and concerns of the employee. Golden Rule Management. Treat each person as you would like to be treated if the positions were reversed. In performance appraisal, the goal is to improve performance, which means raising the self-esteem of the individual in the course of giving feedback and direction. When there is a problem, number one, bring the performance issue to the employee's attention. Sometimes people aren't even aware that there's a problem. Number two is agree on what is to change and by how much. Be specific about the actions that are going to be taken and the way those actions will be measured. Number three, focus on the future and what can be done rather than rehashing past events. As we said before, use phrases like, next time this happens, why don't you do that? From now on, why don't you try it this way? In the future, why don't we do it with this method? There are 5 requirements for maximum motivation to make your people feel like winners. The first is goals. Each person must know exactly what he is expected to do and by when. Number 2 is standards. There must be clear measures of how successful completion of the task is to be measured. The third key to making your people feel like winners is success experiences. The employee must achieve the goal or complete the task. The fourth key is recognition. Successful completion of the task is recognized and acknowledged by the manager and others. Number 5, rewards. There is a payoff for successes of all kinds. These rewards can take several forms. Rewards can be tangible. You can give money, gifts, bonuses, dinner certificates, and pay increases. And they could be intangible. You can express approval and recognition. You can give time with the manager, coffee or lunch, a bigger office, a bigger desk, a desk closer to the window, or time off for excellent performance. Other intangible rewards can be additional responsibilities, additional training and development, and trips to conferences and meetings. There are 5 final basics of motivation. Number 1, set clear goals, standards, and measures. Number 2, inspect what you expect. What gets measured gets done. 3, give continuous positive feedback and encouragement. 4, be a role model to your staff. Be someone that they can look up to, admire, respect, and be proud of working for. And number 5, never stop learning and growing yourself. This is really the key to excellence in management. You motivate your staff by always being positive, by constantly encouraging them to be better, and by becoming a complete optimist in all your interactions with your staff. Chapter 11, Problem Solving and Decision Making. As Earl Nightingale said, people with goals succeed because they know where they are going. Life is a continuous succession of problems. Everything you do all day long revolves around your ability to solve problems effectively. Your entire success as a person and as a leader is determined by your ability to solve problems effectively and well. Instead of reacting to problems with anger or frustration, you should look upon problems as the essential defining skill area of your work. Your job should be to become extremely good at solving any problem that is brought to you, large or small. Fortunately, we know more about how to solve problems effectively today than we have ever known before. By practicing the approaches, skills, and techniques of other successful leaders, you can dramatically increase your ability to solve virtually any problem that comes across your desk. Whatever title is written on your business card, your real job is problem solver. All day long, in every situation, you solve problems. Your ability to solve problems effectively determines your success, your income, your position, and your entire future. If you improve the quality of your thinking, your ability to solve problems, you will improve the quality of your life. Remember, you are a knowledge worker. You work with your mind. Your productivity can only be measured by your results, by what you actually accomplish. And what stands between you and those results is always a problem or a roadblock of some kind. There is a direct relationship between the quantity of new ideas that you come up with and the quality of the ideas that you eventually settle upon. One new idea or insight can transform a situation and even change your career. The very best definition of creativity is simply improvement. Some people feel that they are not particularly creative. The fact is that any time you find a way to accomplish a task or achieve results faster, better, cheaper, or easier than before, you are exercising your creativity at a high level. Everyone can see opportunities for improvement in their line of sight. As Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have where you are. In business, this is where you will see the most opportunities for improvement. In what ways could you improve the way you do your job right now? How could you achieve your goals faster, better, cheaper, and easier by revising your method of working? The Japanese developed the famous Kaizen principle after World War II and used it to achieve some of the highest levels of quality, efficiency, and profitability in the world. Kaizen means continuous betterment. It is based on the law of incremental improvement. This requires that you continuously seek out ways to improve the quality of your products and services over time. The accumulative effect of hundreds and even thousands of tiny improvements leads to the production of world-quality products and services. Every day, you should be looking for ways to increase revenues, improve operations, reduce costs, and boost profits. Sometimes a single idea could save your business or make your business into a world leader in cost effectiveness and profitability. There are three major triggers of creativity. Number one, intensely desired goals. When there is something that you want very much, that you are determined to achieve, you will enjoy a continuous stream of insights and ideas that will help you to move toward the achievement of that goal. Number two, pressing problems. When you can clearly define the biggest problems facing you in the accomplishments of your most important goals, you will trigger solutions and answers that may surprise you and others. Number three, focus questions. The best leaders continually ask questions that provoke thought and reflection and often elicit responses and ideas that would have lain dormant in the absence of the questions. There is a systematic method of problem solving that is used by the most effective executives in almost every organization. It is easy to learn and apply and works with incredible effectiveness in helping you overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. First, define your problem or goal clearly in writing. Remember, a goal unachieved is merely a problem unsolved. The greater clarity you have in defining your problem or goal, the more likely it is that you will find an answer or solution. Second, once you have defined your problem clearly, ask, what else is the problem? Never be satisfied with a single definition of a problem. As Jack Welch said, continually expand your definition of the problem, and you expand your view of all the different ways that it can be solved. Third, restate the problem to make it easier to solve. If you settle for a quick definition of the problem, it could lead you down the wrong path to solving the wrong problem and wasting resources for no purpose. For example, the biggest problem that a company usually experiences is low sales, leading to low revenues and decreased cash flow. When we ask, what is the problem, our clients will say, our sales are too low. We then encourage them to expand the definition of the problem. We ask, what else is the problem? The answers we eventually arrive at change the entire nature of the solution and the proposed action. What else is the problem? Our competitors' sales are too high. If this is truly the case, this requires changes in marketing, sales, product quality, positioning, and many other things. What else is the problem? We are not attracting enough qualified leads with our advertising. If this is truly the problem, new strategies in marketing, advertising, public relations, and the choice of advertising media, copy, and advertising material is necessary. What else is the problem? We are not closing enough of the customers attracted by our advertising. If this is the answer, then the solution is to train and retrain the sales force so that they are more competent in converting sales leads into actual customers. This exercise can go on and on. Its importance is simple. If you settle on the wrong definition of the problem, you will go off in the wrong direction in solving the problem and eventually have to come back and start over. The fourth step in systematic problem solving is to determine all the possible causes of the problem. Ask the brutal questions. Be prepared to accept the very worst cause. Get your ego out of the way. Many companies have had to admit that the real cause of their problem is that their products or services are not good enough in comparison with their competitors. Maybe they have to admit that there's no real market for what they are selling, or that what else is available in the market is superior or cheaper than their offerings. They may even have to admit that they made a mistake entering into the market in the first place. Fifth step is determine all the possible solutions to this problem. Then force yourself to ask, what else is the solution? As the business writer Ian Mitroff says, beware of a problem for which there is only one solution. Sixth, once you have done a thorough and complete analysis of the problem, all the possible causes, and all the possible solutions, make a decision. Any decision is usually better than no decision at all. Seventh, once you have made a decision, assign responsibility. Who exactly is going to carry out each part of the decision? Eighth, set a deadline. Set a schedule for reporting on progress. Ninth, remember, a weak solution vigorously carried out is usually better than an excellent solution weakly pursued. And 10th, check and review later to see if the solution was successful. Did you get the result expected? Be prepared to implement your Plan B if your first solution doesn't work. Always have a backup. Use mindstorming to solve problems. Mindstorming is one of the most powerful problem-solving methodologies ever developed. It's often called the 20-idea method. You start by defining your goal or problem as a question. Write this question down at the top of a blank page. For example, how do we increase our sales by 20% over the next 12 months? You then discipline yourself to write down 20 answers to the question. You can write down more than 20 answers if you like, but you must work away at it until you have at least 20 answers. When you have 20 answers, select at least one answer on your list and take action on it immediately. If you do this exercise on a regular basis, with each goal or problem that you face, you will be astonished at the quality and quantity of answers that appear under your pen. The 20-idea method is one of the most powerful secret success techniques ever discovered. Practice brainstorming to solve your problems. You can stimulate creativity through brainstorming. This requires that you work with a group. The ideal number of people in a brainstorming session is between 4 and 7. Fewer than 4 people leads to less energy, and more than 7 people leads to ineffectiveness. The ideal length of a brainstorming session is about 15 to 45 minutes. When you conduct a brainstorming session on a problem or goal, use a stopwatch. Start and stop on time. The element of time pressure causes ideas to pop out of the people in attendance. Begin by defining the problem or goal clearly in a way that demands practical answers. Instead of saying, how can we cut costs, you would say, how can we reduce costs in this specific area by 18% in the next 30 days? Make the brainstorming process fun. Make it a game, a race against time. Tell everyone that your goal is to get as many ideas as possible in the period of time allotted. The key to brainstorming is to make sure that there is no judgment or evaluation of any ideas. There are no comments on the ideas as they emerge, and no ridicule of silly ideas. When I do strategic planning or brainstorming with my clients, I will often take out a $100 bill and hold it up before we begin. I will then say, this $100 bill goes to the first person who asks a dumb question or makes a dumb suggestion. And I can promise you this, no one in this room is going to win this money today. Usually everyone laughs, and then the ideas start pouring like a river. Often an idea that seems ridiculous or silly, when combined with another idea that seems to have no potential, creates a third idea that is the breakthrough that leads to the solution to the problem. The goal in brainstorming is to always generate the highest quantity of ideas in the shortest time. To achieve this, the leader continually encourages everyone to contribute, eliciting ideas from the quiet people around the table or in the room. In a brainstorming session, there should always be someone who acts as the recorder. This is the person who writes down every idea as fast as they are generated. When the brainstorming session is over, gather all the ideas, thank everyone for their contribution, and get back to work. You then take the ideas and type them up if necessary for evaluation at a later time. Recently, in a brainstorming session with a room full of professionals, I had the groups of 5 to 6 people at each table brainstorm solutions to a particular problem. After 15 minutes, they were instructed to take their written solutions to another table and trade. In the next 45 minutes, each group evaluated and discussed the ideas generated by the group at the next table. Because of this dynamic, there was no ego involved, and some of the solutions they came up with were remarkable. One of the best tools for stimulating creativity is zero-based thinking, as we have discussed earlier. Zero-based thinking frees your mind from both conscious and unconscious limitations. When you ask, knowing what I now know, is there anything that I am doing that I wouldn't get into again today if I had to do it over? Your mind is free to stand back and look at everything you are doing more calmly and objectively. The key to zero-based thinking is the practice of creative abandonment. What should you discontinue, reduce, or eliminate altogether? When you are developing your creative thinking skills, one of the most important things you do is test your assumptions. False assumptions lie at the root of every failure. Each person has certain basic premises. Most of their thoughts, feelings, and decisions arise from a fixed view of the way the world is and the way things should be. But very often, these basic premises are false. They may even have been determined by accepting wrong information as true and adopting it without question. This can be very dangerous to good thinking. In testing your assumptions, be willing to admit that you could be wrong. I encourage people, even when they feel strongly, to precede their remarks by saying, "You know, I could be wrong. I often am." When you are willing to admit that you could be wrong, you relax, and your mind opens up to a wider range of possibilities. Be willing to change your mind. It's amazing how people's egos get involved in their thoughts, feelings, and activities in business. They take a position, and even if it turns out to be a poor position, they do not want to change their minds. They're afraid that they will be seen as weak. But nothing could be further from the truth. The mark of the strong person, the person of courage and character, is that they are willing to admit that they are wrong when it becomes clear that they are. They are not defensive. They are willing to abandon their old ideas and accept a better idea from someone else. Strong people are willing to change their minds when they get new information that they did not have before. Be prepared to say, "I changed my mind." Refuse to allow yourself to get boxed into the corner because you took an earlier position that turned out to be untenable with new information and the passing of time. Help your staff become more capable of solving problems and making decisions. Delegate both problem-solving and decision-making to them. Issue these instructions. Before you come to me with a problem, define it clearly in writing. Write down all the reasons why the problem has occurred. Identify all the possible solutions to the problem. Select the solution that you think is best. When an employee brings you a problem, always ask, "What do you think we should do?" Helping and allowing people to make decisions makes them stronger, smarter, and more competent. It also frees up a lot of your time, which you can put to better use elsewhere. Complete the sentence. There's a powerful exercise you can use to stimulate creativity in yourself and in the people who report to you. It's called the sentence completion exercise. The way you use this method is simple. You find as many ways as possible to finish a particular sentence. For example, 1. We could double our sales if ... and then think of as many different ways to complete that sentence as possible. 2. We could cut our costs in this area by 30% if only we did ... and then complete the sentence with every idea you can think of to achieve this goal. 3. We could sell more of our products or services if our customers just didn't say ... Identify all the objections that a qualified prospect would give you to not buy your product or service, and then think of ways of overcoming that objection. Number 4. We could be the best in our business if we ... What are the specific steps that you could take starting today to improve the quality of your products and services? Apply the principle of constraints. You can release your creativity and solve problems more effectively by applying the principle of constraints to your work. Step 1. Determine where you are today, your starting point in relation to any goal or objective you have. Step 2. Determine your goal or objective clearly. Decide exactly what you want to accomplish or where you want to be sometime in the future. Step 3. Determine the bottleneck or limiting factor between you and your goal. Step 4. Ask, what determines the speed at which I get from where I am now to my goal in the future? What is holding me back? There is always one factor that more than anything else holds you back or determines the speed at which you achieve your goal. Sometimes we call this the bottleneck or the choke point. Apply the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule applies to constraints. Fully 80% of the reasons that you are not achieving your goal at the speed you desire are contained within yourself or within your business. Only 20% are on the outside. Always begin by looking within to determine what is holding you back. Ask yourself this question: why aren't I at my goal already? If your goal is to increase your sales by 20%, why aren't your sales already 20% higher? If your goal is to cut costs or boost profits, why haven't you already achieved this goal? What is the limiting factor? Whatever your answer, once you've determined the true bottleneck, concentrate all of your energies like a laser beam on solving that one problem or alleviating that one constraint. There are 3 qualities of genius that have been discovered throughout the ages. In becoming better at problem solving, these 3 qualities are qualities you can develop within yourself. 1. The first quality of a genius, irrespective of IQ, is the ability to concentrate single-mindedly on a single goal, a single problem, or a single question without growing tired or bored. 2. The second quality of genius is mental flexibility. The genius refuses to rush to judgment. Instead, the genius spends a lot of time considering all the possible ways of approaching or solving the problem or answering the question. And 3, the third quality of geniuses is that they use a systematic method of solving any problem, like the method explained above. Like a mathematical formula, you dramatically increase your ability to function at higher mental levels when you approach each problem in a systematic way and follow in a series of proven steps to walk through the problem. You will soon be astonished at the quality and quantity of ideas that you come up with. The fact is that you are a potential genius. You can dramatically increase your inborn creativity by using these methods and techniques on a regular basis, with problems or goals, large or small. The more often you use these methods and techniques, the smarter and more effective at problem solving you will become. Your ability to think. Your ability to think determines your success as a person and as a manager more than any other single skill you have. All of your abilities to think are measured by your ability to make good decisions. The entire course of human destiny has been changed by a single person in charge who made a good or bad decision at a critical moment. Learning to solve problems and make better decisions is very similar to learning a mechanical skill. You master the process through practice and repetition until you can apply these key skills automatically to every decision-making situation. The weakness of the average person is the tendency to assume causality between 2 things that happen at the same time and to jump to conclusions. As a result, people make decisions too quickly and with too little thought. Poor decisions lie at the root of virtually every failure. Excellent decisions are the foundation of virtually every success. Everything that happens in your world happens as a result of a decision or series of decisions. As it happens, fully 70% of the decisions that you make ultimately turn out to be wrong. This can be because you make your decisions on the basis of false premises, or the situation changes completely, or what appears to be a good decision at one time turns out to be a poor decision later on. Your ability to make timely and accurate decisions in every part of your life is the true measure of your wisdom and experience. Good decisions lead to the proper allocation of resources, money, and people. You decide who you are going to hire, promote, and assign to new tasks. You use decision-making to solve the major and minor problems that arise all day long. You rise to the level of your own ability to solve problems and make good decisions. There are 3 stages of business decision-making involving other people. This is the process. First, you begin with free and open discussion. All ideas and viewpoints are considered and encouraged from everyone involved. Second, you make a clear decision. Everyone agrees on what will be done, who will do it, and when it will be done, and how it will be done. And the third phase in group decision-making is full support. Everybody agrees to back the decision totally. What we have found is that there's a direct relationship in decision-making between the amount of discussion that precedes the decision and the level of commitment among the participants involved in the discussion to implement the solution. Discussion is extremely important in business. Some people only understand a problem or a situation by dialoguing about it with others. Crisis anticipation. Problem or crisis anticipation is an exercise in foresight practiced by the best managers and leaders. The best time to solve a problem is before it occurs. The true test of the leader in decision-making is crisis management. Superior managers are always developing alternate scenarios, Plan Bs. Your ability to make decisions in a crisis is the true test of leadership. There are 4 types of decisions. First, there is the decision that must be made. It cannot be put off or delegated to someone else. Second, there are decisions that you do not have to make. The rule is that if you do not have to make a decision, you have to not make that decision. Third, there are decisions that you cannot afford to make. If the decision is wrong, the cost will be too high. You may not be able to recover. And fourth, there are decisions that you cannot afford not to make. These are decisions with a very low downside if you are wrong, but an enormous and positive upside if you are correct. Avoid blocking assumptions. When you are making decisions, avoid blocking assumptions. These are assumptions that may not be true, but which interfere with your ability to think clearly. The first blocking assumption is that it even is a problem. Sometimes it's not a problem at all. Sometimes it is just a fact, like the rain or the weather. For example, the market is down, or interest rates are higher. These are facts, not problems. The second blocking assumption is that you are the person who has to make the decision or solve the problem. Maybe this problem belongs in someone else's court, not yours. The third blocking assumption is that somebody else has not already solved the problem or made the decision somewhere else. Ask, who else may have had this problem and come up with a solution to it? Fourth, another blocking assumption is that you have to solve the problem or make the decision by some deadline. Sometimes you put unnecessary pressure on yourself. Some problems can be delayed or deferred for days, weeks, or even months. Fifth, another blocking assumption is that you must solve the problem completely with a single solution. There are usually many different ways to solve a problem, including not doing anything at all or doing something partially for now, like a Band-Aid. Use questions to achieve clarity. Always ask, what else is the problem? Ask, why is this a problem in the first place? Ask, can this decision be delayed or deferred? Ask, can this decision be delegated or passed off to someone else? Decision-making criteria. There are some decision-making criteria that you can use for all your problems. Always ask, what are you trying to achieve, avoid, or preserve with this solution? What are the objectives or goals of this decision? What do you want to accomplish as a result of making this decision? What are your goals? What are your minimum boundary conditions? What must be accomplished by this decision? The disaster report. Analyze the possible adverse consequences of a decision before you make it. 1. Fill out the disaster report before you finalize your decision. 2. Ask, what is the worst possible outcome of this decision? 3. Can you accept these consequences, the worst possible outcome, should they occur? And 4. If you cannot accept the worst possible negative outcome, then don't do it at all. 5. If your answer is, yes, I can afford the worst possible outcome, you then ask, what can I do to make sure that the worst doesn't occur? Set standards for success. How will you measure if the decision was right? Set clear, measurable standards and goals for every decision. Monitor, review, and check regularly to see how it is going. Be prepared to change or revise your decision if you get new information. Accept feedback and self-correct. Be prepared to fall back on your plan B if your original decision doesn't work. There are 2 decision-making techniques you can use to improve your decision-making ability. Number 1 is called the balance sheet method. This is often called the Ben Franklin method. You take a sheet of paper and draw a line down the center. On one side, you write all of the reasons in favor of the decision. On the other side of the line, you write all of the reasons opposed. This is a method pioneered by Ben Franklin, which led him to becoming the first millionaire in America and one of the richest men in the colonies. The second decision-making method is called the point scoring system. Write out all of the decision criteria. Write down a list of everything that you would like to accomplish with this particular decision, all of the factors that are important to you. This is especially useful, by the way, in hiring someone. Take 1,000 points and allocate these points across all the decision criteria that you have written down. Give a larger number of points to some factors and a smaller number of points to others. This exercise helps you to become clear about what factors in the decision are more important than others. Since no decision is perfect, you will make the decision that earns the highest possible score based on the way that you have allocated these points. Decisiveness is the key quality for success in decision-making. Any decision is better than no decision, especially if it is not a major issue. When you make a decision, be prepared to accept feedback and self-correct. You may not necessarily make the right decisions all the time, but you can then resolve to make your decisions right. Learn from every situation. Aristotle wrote, "Wisdom is an equal combination of experience plus reflection." Ask 2 questions after every experience to be sure that you extract the greatest amount of wisdom in learning possible from the experience. Question number 1, what did I do right? Analyze everything that you did right in that particular decision, even if the decision turned out poorly. Look for the good points in your decision-making process. Second, what would I do differently? Make a list of everything that you would do to make a better decision next time. The value in these 2 questions is that they both demand positive answers. Instead of thinking, what did I do wrong? You instead ask, what did I do right? And what would I do differently? This keeps your mind positive and focused on the solution, focused on the future. The best managers in the real world are decisive. They make decisions, and then they move ahead with the implementation of those decisions. Average managers avoid making decisions. They are too afraid of making a mistake. Developing the quality of decisiveness in combination with your problem-solving ability is the key to your performing at your very best and to fulfilling your responsibilities as a leader. Chapter 12, Simplify Your Life. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said, "Treat people as if they were what they ought to be, and you help them become what they are capable of being." Everyone today has too much to do and too little time. You feel overwhelmed with your duties, tasks, and responsibilities. The challenge is for you to simplify your life in such a way that you spend more time doing the things that are most important to you and less time doing those things that are not important at all. In this final chapter, you will learn a variety of methods, techniques, and strategies that you can use to reorganize and restructure your life, simplify your activities, get more done, and enjoy more time with your family and in your personal life than ever before. Let's begin. Determine your true values. The starting point of simplifying your life is for you to decide exactly what it is that is most important to you. What are your values? What are your core beliefs? What do you care about more than anything else? The most important question that you must ask and answer throughout your life is, what do I really want to do with my life? What you want to do with your life will invariably be an expression of your irreducible essence, the person that you really are deep inside. To simplify your life, you should set peace of mind as your highest goal, and then organize your life around it. Whatever gives you peace, satisfaction, joy, and the feeling of value and importance is right for you. Whatever causes you stress, distraction, unhappiness, or irritation is wrong for you. You must have the courage to organize your life so that you are doing more and more of the things that give you the greatest joy and satisfaction, and less of the things that take away from that joy and satisfaction. Decide exactly what you want. In every study I've ever seen, and in every interview with unhappy people, I have found that they have one thing in common. They have no clear goals. They have a lot of wishes, hopes, and desires, but they do not have goals to which they are committed. As a result, their lives go around in circles, leaving them feeling dissatisfied and empty most of the time. Start deciding what you want by writing out a list of at least 10 goals that you would like to accomplish in the next year. Once you have written out this list, review the 10 goals and then ask this question: what one goal, if I achieved it in the next 24 hours, would have the greatest positive impact on my life? Select your major definite purpose. This goal usually leaps out at you from the page. It is the one thing that would have the greatest positive impact on your life right now. Whatever it is, put a circle around it on your list, and you're now ready to reorganize your life and simplify your activities. Your most important goal becomes your major definite purpose. You then make a list of everything you can think of that you could do to achieve that goal. Organize the list by priority, by what is more important and what is less important. Then, begin immediately on the most important thing that you can do to achieve your most important goal right now. Throughout the day, think about your goal. When you get up in the morning, think about your goal. When you go to bed at night, think about your goal. Do something every day that moves you toward the achievement of the most important goal you have. This action alone will simplify and streamline your life in ways that you cannot imagine. Get your life in balance. The key to balance is for you to be sure that your activities on the outside are congruent and in alignment with your values on the inside. A sense of happiness, peace, joy, and relief comes when you return to your values and make sure that everything you do is consistent with them. On the other hand, most of your stress, unhappiness, negativity, and dissatisfaction comes from attempting to do things in your outer world that are in conflict with your most important values on the inside. Use the 20-10 exercise. Imagine that you have $20 million cash in the bank, tax-free. Imagine also that you only have 10 years to live and to spend and enjoy this $20 million. What changes would you make in your life? One of the most important keys to simplification is for you to imagine that you have no limitations on anything you would want to be, have, or do. Imagine that you have all the time and money you need. Imagine that you have all the skills and ability that you need. Imagine that you have all the friends and contacts. Imagine that you could do anything that you wanted. What would it be? Practice zero-based thinking. As we've discussed before, in zero-based thinking, you draw a line under every decision or commitment you have made in the past. You then ask the question, knowing what I now know, is there anything that I am doing today that I would not start up again today if I had to do it over? This is an extremely liberating question. Fully 70% of everything you do will turn out to be wrong in the fullness of time. To simplify your life, you must be willing to admit, on a go-forward basis, that you are not perfect. Be prepared to say the magic words, I was wrong. Since you're going to be wrong much of the time, the sooner you admit it, the sooner you can simplify and improve your life. Be willing to say, I made a mistake. Most of the things that you do, especially in business and your career, will turn out to be mistakes in time. There's nothing wrong with this. This is how everyone learns and grows. What is wrong is when we refuse to correct the mistake because our ego is invested in being right. Gerald Jampolsky once said, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You have to make this decision for yourself. Finally, learn to say regularly, I changed my mind. It's absolutely amazing how many people dig themselves into holes of stress, anger, frustration, and dissatisfaction because they are not willing to admit that they have changed their mind. This is not for you. You must stand back and look at your entire life. Is there anything in your life that you would not get into again today if you had to do it over? If there is, have the courage to admit that you have made a mistake, which all people do, and then take the steps to change. There are only 4 ways you can change the quality of your life. You can do more of some things or you can do less of other things. You can start doing something that you are not doing today, or you can stop doing something else altogether. What is it going to be? Reorganize your activities. Stand back and look at your life, especially look at the parts of your life that are causing you stress and frustration. How could you reorganize those areas of your life so that you are doing more and more of those things that give you the greatest happiness and fewer of other things? Reorganize your life so that you are doing more tasks of a similar nature at the same time. Start a little earlier, work a little harder, stay a little later. Do several tasks at once rather than spreading them out. Continually think about how you could reorganize your life to make it simpler and better. Restructure your work. Remember to apply the 80-20 rule to everything you do. 80% of the value of everything you do will be contained in 20% of the actions that you take. This means that fully 80% of the things you do have little or no value. The secret to restructuring your work and your life is for you to spend more and more time doing the 20% of things that contribute the very most to your life and work. Simultaneously, you should spend less and less time doing those things that contribute very little. Sometimes you should stop doing them at all. Remember, the very worst use of time is to do very well what need not be done at all. Re-engineer your personal life. The whole process of re-engineering is based on the exercise of reducing steps in any process. In business, we encourage people to make a list of all the steps in a particular work process. Then, we look for a way to reduce the number of steps by at least 30% the first time through. This is usually quite easy. In your own life, there are 3 keys to re-engineering your life, reducing steps, and simplifying your activities. First, delegate everything that you possibly can to other people. The more things of low value that you delegate, the more time you free up and the more time you'll have for the things that only you can do that make a real difference. Second, outsource everything in your business that can be done by other companies that specialize in that activity. Most companies are bogged down, engaged in activities that other companies can do for them better and more efficiently, and usually at a lower price. Third, eliminate all low-value, no-value activities. As Nancy Reagan said, just say no to anything that is really not the highest and best use of your time. Reinvent yourself regularly. Imagine that your company, your job, and your career disappeared overnight, and you had to start all over again. What would you do differently? Imagine that you had to combine and recombine your education and experience into a new career or field of activity. What would you really love to do if you had all the skills, ability, and money that you needed? You should be reinventing yourself regularly, at least once each year. You should stand back and look at your life and career and ask yourself, if I was not now doing this, knowing what I now know, would I get into it? If the answer is no, then your next question is, how do I get out and how fast? Set priorities on everything you do. One of the best ways to simplify your life is to reorganize your life by priorities. Realize and admit to yourself that most of the things you do have no or low value. By setting priorities, you focus more and more of your time on doing those few things that really make a difference in your life. The most important word in setting priorities is consequences. If something is important, the potential consequences of doing it or not doing it are high. If something is unimportant, the potential consequences of doing it or not doing it are low. Use the ABCDE method to set priorities in every area of your life. A stands for tasks that are important. They have serious consequences. They must be done, or you will get into real trouble or problems. B are tasks that you should do, that have mild consequences, but which can be put off while you do your A tasks. C are things that are nice to do, but have no consequences. Returning a phone call to a friend or going out for lunch with a coworker is a C activity. It has no consequences. It has no effect on your life, one way or the other. D tasks are those that you can delegate to others who can do them at least as well as you. And E tasks are tasks that you can eliminate, tasks that you can get rid of altogether because they are no longer as important as your A tasks. Here's the rule. Never do a B task when you have an A task left undone. Never do a C task when you have a B task left undone. Never give in to the temptation to clear up small things first. When you start each working day, identify your most important task, your A1 task, whatever it is. Start to work on that and stay on that until it's complete. This will simplify your life enormously. Ask yourself every hour of every day, what can I and only I do that if done well will make a real difference? Whatever your answer is to this question, work on that above all other things. Set posteriorities on your life and work. The only way that you can simplify your life and get control of your time is by stopping doing certain things. You are already too busy. Your dance card is full. It's impossible for you to simplify your life by simply learning how to be more efficient and effective and working on more things. Instead, you have to stop doing as many things as possible. In order to begin a new task, you must stop or discontinue an old task. In order to get into something new, you must get out of something old. You are already overworked. You cannot do more than you are already doing. Practice creative abandonment with those tasks and activities that are no longer as valuable and important as others. Instead, do fewer and fewer things, but do things of higher value. This is the key to simplifying your life. Plan your time in advance. Remember the saying, proper prior planning prevents poor performance, often called the 6P formula. What this actually means is that you can save 90% of the time you need to get through the day by planning every step in advance. It's almost miraculous. Plan your year in advance, especially vacations with your family and friends. Book them, pay for them, and take them off your calendar exactly as if they were appointments with your biggest and most important customer. Plan each month in advance. Lay it out in front of you and determine how you are going to spend the time. You will be amazed at how much more productive you are and how much simpler your life is by the very act of planning your months in advance. Plan every week in advance, preferably the week before. Sit down and plan every day using the 70% rule. This says that you should commit yourself for no more than 70% of your time. Leave yourself some slack in the system so that you have time for unexpected emergencies and delays. Plan each day in advance, preferably the night before. Make a list of everything you have to do. Organize it by priority. Select your A1 task and be ready to begin on that task first thing in the morning. Delegate everything possible. When you start your career, you have to do everything yourself. But if you're going to grow, evolve, and become highly effective and well paid, you must delegate everything possible to anyone else who can possibly do the task. Use your hourly rate as a measure. How much do you earn per hour? If you earn $50,000 per year, divided by 2,000 hours, a normal work year, your hourly rate is $25 per hour. Delegate everything to anyone who can do the task at a lower hourly rate than you want to make. It's sometimes better for you to sit and do nothing, simply thinking and using your creative powers, than it is for you to do lowly paid tasks that tire you out and consume your time. When you delegate to other people, make sure that they have the proven ability to do it. Delegation is not abdication. Once you have delegated a task, you must supervise it and regulate it to make sure that it is done on time, on schedule, and on budget. Focus on higher value tasks. Keep organizing and reorganizing your work so that you are spending more and more time on those few tasks that have the highest possible value. The most important time management question, which you ask and answer every hour of every day, is, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Whatever your answer to that question, be sure that you are working on that every minute of every day. Single-handle every job. This is one of the greatest ways to simplify your life. Select your most important task, your A1, start on that task, and then discipline yourself to work on it single-mindedly until it is complete. Time management experts have found that if you start and stop a task several times, you can increase the amount of time necessary to complete that task by as much as 500%. On the other hand, when you single-handle a task, you can reduce the amount of time necessary to complete that task by 80%. This gives you a 400% return on the investment of your time and energy on a task. All that extra time then becomes available to you to do other things in your life that give you more joy and satisfaction. Reduce your paperwork. Use the TRAF method to reduce your paperwork and get through large quantities of newspapers and magazines. The first letter in TRAF, T, stands for toss. These are the things that you throw away immediately without reading them. This habit alone is a great time saver and simplifier. The second letter, R, stands for refer. These are things that you refer to other people to handle rather than bothering with them yourself. The third letter, A, stands for action. These are the things that you need to take action on personally. You put these into a red file, and this is what you work on, organized by priority throughout the day. And finally, F stands for file. These are the things that have to be filed for later. But remember two things. First, fully 80% of the things you file are never referred to again. And second, whenever you order something to be filed, you create work and complicate the life of someone else. Don't do this unless it's absolutely essential. Leave things off. Develop the habit of leaving your radio off when you travel, especially with your family and friends. When you come home at night, leave the television off. Whenever you leave radios and televisions off, you create a sound vacuum into which comes communication, interaction, and the true joys of family and personal life. Use a TiVo system to record the programs that you like without commercials so that you can watch them when you want at your own convenience. When you get up in the morning, resist the temptation to turn on the television. Instead, spend a few minutes reading something educational, motivational, or inspirational. Take some time to plan your day. Take some time to think through and about who you are and what you want, rather than filling your mind with the noise of endless television or radio. Put your relationships first. Remember, most of the enjoyment and satisfaction that you get in life will come from your interactions with other people. Put the most important people in your life at the top of your list of priorities. Put everything else below these people. Imagine that you only had 6 months left to live. What would you do? How would you spend your time if you only had 6 months left? Whatever your answer to this is, I'm sure it doesn't involve earning more money or getting back to the office to return phone calls. What would you do? How would you change your life if you won $1 million cash in the lottery tomorrow, tax-free? Think about how you would change your life if you had all the money that you wanted or needed. In almost every case, you would think of the things you would want to do with the people that you care about the most. Don't wait until you win $1 million or only have 6 months to live before you start to spend more and more time with the most important people in your life. Take excellent care of your physical health. You can simplify your life by eating less and eating better. You can simplify your life by exercising regularly and getting thinner. You can simplify your life by getting regular medical and dental checkups. You can simplify your life by eating proper nutrients and taking excellent care of yourself. Imagine that you had saved your money all your life and you had finally bought a $1 million racehorse. How would you feed that horse? I can promise you that you would not feed that horse with fast food, junk food, sodas, and potato chips. You would feed that horse with the finest foods that you could find in the whole world. You are 10 times, 100 times more valuable than a $1 million racehorse. Feed yourself with the same kind of foods that you would feed a $1 million racehorse. Take good care of your health. Practice solitude daily. Take 30 to 60 minutes each day to sit in the silence with yourself. Take the time to listen to yourself and to listen to your inner voice. The practice of solitude will transform your life. In solitude, you will get ideas and insights that will change everything you do. When you practice solitude on a regular basis, you will feel a great sense of calm, quiet, creativity, and relaxation. You will emerge from your periods of solitude feeling wonderful about yourself and your life. Solitude is one of the most wonderful joys available to the human being, and it costs nothing except the discipline to sit quietly for 30 to 60 minutes by yourself on a regular basis. Give it a try. You can simplify your life by practicing the ideas above over and over until they become automatic and easy. Make it a habit to look for ways to do fewer things, but do more important things. Make it a habit to simplify your life and simultaneously increase the joy and satisfaction that you receive. Go for it. This is Brian Tracy, and thank you for listening to How the Best Leaders Lead. I hope these ideas have been helpful to you and that you can apply them in every part of your life to get more and better results faster and easier than ever before. Good luck to you.
This has been a Gildan audio production. For more affordable life-changing audio programs, visit our website at gildanmedia.com.